The following video is a top-secret classified broadcast from the Wolfula. Keep what you're about to see to yourself or suffer the grave consequences. Also, thank you for supporting the Patreon. Enjoy!
Greetings, I'm your host, Dr. Wolfula, and welcome to the first episode of my secret show. What's the secret show? Well, it's a secret. Really though, secret shows will be reviews and other assorted vids covering miscellaneous subjects with a focus on non-horror stuff, and these vids will be exclusive to my silver supporters and above on Patreon. Thanks a bunch for your support, by the way. You're the real MVPs, and hopefully this is adequate reward for your support. On to the review though. In this first secret show, I'm going to be covering something near and dear to my heart. Scooby-Doo, of course. Specifically, the new direct-to-video Scooby-Doo film, Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. Now, if that title sounds familiar to you, you're a true blue Scooby-Doo fan. But if it doesn't, well, I'll explain. You see, back in the 80s, there was this Scooby-Doo show called The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which had more of a storyline than all the other Scooby-Doo shows. It involved Scooby-Doo and the gang teaming up with this warlock named Vincent Van Ghoul, who was actually played by Vincent Price, and they had to return 13 evil ghosts to an ancient chest. It was very different from all the other Scooby-Doo shows at the time. It was a very experimental time for Scooby-Doo in the 80s, and most of that experiment mainly involved getting rid of Fred and Velma, the two most proactive characters of the group, and focusing on, I guess, the eye candy of Daphne, and the wacky hijinks of Scooby, Shaggy, and also Scooby's nephew, Scrappy-Doo, who was a very controversial character, but you know, apparently Scrappy had something to do with keeping Scooby relevant through the 80s, so I guess I can't hold too much against him. Just not really my cup of tea. Really fucking annoying character. Now, I didn't really hate 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, but it wasn't one of my favorite shows. But it was a nice change of pace from all the other usual guy in a mask antics of the regular Scooby-Doo shows. It had more of a storyline. It was just kind of refreshing. It was a change of pace. But the one thing I will never forgive 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo for doing is introducing the world to Flim Flam. Fuck Flim Flam. I hate Flim Flam. Fuck him. I don't even know why he was on the show. Like, he was like just this useless kid. He was apparently a con artist, too. Anyway, eventually things got back to basics. Fred and Velma returned to the show, Scrappy got the fuck out of there, and we never saw Flim Flam again, thankfully. Until now. You see, the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo never got resolved. There was never a finale to the show that saw them actually stop the 13 Ghosts. It was kind of just this unfinished series. But for whatever reason, we finally got a conclusion to that old 80s Scooby-Doo show of all things, in the form of this new direct-to-video animated Scooby-Doo film, Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost. It kind of came out of the blue. I was not really expecting them to actually ever finish the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. I thought it was just something that would always remain unfinished. But it kind of makes sense, you know, if you think about it, because they make so many of these direct-to-video animated Scooby-Doo films every year. They might as well do something experimental like this and actually continue some of these old Scooby-Doo shows. I guess that's what they're trying to do with this new movie, and, well, I was curious and saw Curse of the 13th Ghost, and, well, here's my review. Curse of the 13th Ghost begins with the gang solving a seemingly routine mystery at a mall, but apparently the gang totally fucks this mystery up. And apparently they even run into the first ever competent sheriff I've ever seen on the show, who solves the mystery himself. A cop actually solves the Scooby-Doo mystery himself. Like, it's just a huge blow to the gang, who's used to just the shittiest police.
She's getting away!
And this officer even threatens to arrest the gang, but because they're apparently under 18, which, you know, I can't even believe. They're totally not under the age of 18, but whatever. But apparently, if they were the age of 18, he would fucking arrest them.
You're almost 18. After that, if somebody like Morgan here presses harassment charges, you're looking at prison time.
It's just a huge blow to the gang, and they are genuinely spooked, and they decide to just retire then and there.
Let me be absolutely clear. If I see you driving that mystery machine of yours one more mile, I'm putting you away.
Honestly, it's a little hard for me to believe after all the mysteries they successfully solved for the gang to just sort of quit on the spot. But that's what they do. It's a little fucked up how they hold a yard sale right away where they sell all of their shit they've accrued solving mysteries, including the fucking mystery machine, their main vehicle for so many years, like just based on just very little, like just one failure, and they just decide to hang it up. I just don't know. It's a little hard for me to believe. Like, they never even get the mystery machine back in this movie. Spoilers, like, they never have a scene where they retrieve the mystery machine. Like, they just fucking sold it, and they never resolve that and have them get the mystery machine back. Like, really fucked up shit, man. Oh boy.
I don't understand why we have to unload everything.
I can't believe I just sold the mystery machine.
During the yard sale, though, the gang stumbles upon an old crystal ball that they used to contact Vincent Van Ghoul back in the day. And Vincent calls the gang right then and there and tells them that the 13th ghost is still on the loose and they need to find the chest of demons to return it back to whence it came, finally, after all these years.
Who is Vincent Van Ghoul?
What's a chest of demons?
But apparently only a few months had actually passed since the events of 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which is a little, hard to believe. Especially since that happened like nearly 30 years ago, but okay, whatever, I'll accept it, fine, I'll accept it.
I've been trying to reach you on this thing for months.
Upon hearing Vincent Van Ghoul's plea for help, Daphne dons a cool modern take on her 80s outfit, and they use a redesign of the 80s mystery machine to go on a globe-trotting adventure. And that's pretty much the story. It involves the Mystery Inc. gang trying to track down the last ghost and return it to that goddamn box so they can finally finish that fucking story after 30 years. Damn it. Now, if you always wondered where Fred and Velma were when they were missing for so many years during the 80s, well, apparently they were at camp.
Listen, something happened. That summer you were both away at camp.
Which is the most vague explanation, but I guess it gets elaborated on a little bit more with Fred, but it's a little hard to believe, but okay, whatever. A lot of shit that's really hard to believe in this movie, but the film actually plays to Fred's and Velma's absence from the original show as a strength. Velma throughout this movie is a total skeptic. She just does not believe in ghosts, and this film asks her to believe in ghosts, like there apparently are real ghosts out in the world.
Because the dead don't open things. They don't do anything. They're dead!
And also, Daphne becomes more of a leader, so Fred, throughout this film, he's just not sure what his role is in the gang anymore. Like, is he a leader still? Not quite. Daphne's taken charge, and she seems to be much more competent than him.
Come on, gang.
Let's follow Daphne inside.
So it makes Fred and Velma much more relevant to this plot than the characters who were actually in the original show, honestly.
V-E-L-M-A. She's the one who...
Why are you doing that?
You're right. I don't know what my role is anymore.
Huh?
Now, here's the elephant in the room here. As a 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo continuation, this movie has fucking flim-flam in it. Ah, god damn it, why did it have to be flim-flam? Ah. But actually, flim-flam has somehow become an adult in the short span of time that apparently has passed, and he's not really all that annoying anymore. Like, he has a completely different voice actor, and he's kind of a okay character now. Like, all it took was him not being an annoying fucking kid. Now he's a decent character. Now he fits in. Now he's actually tolerable. Wow, Flim Flam is tolerable. I never thought that could ever happen. Wow.
And it's all celebrating the relic that made this village the tourism capital of the Himalayas. At prices so low, it's demonic!
Now, if you're unfamiliar with the original show that this movie continues, well, don't worry too much, because this movie tries to infuse the original show's concept with all the more familiar elements of classic Scooby-Doo to make it a bit more accessible to new viewers. Unfortunately, with that also comes the fact that it just doesn't feel like a complete continuation of the original show. It never really feels like it fully embrace the supernatural aspects of 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. It just feels like they're playing it a little safe with this continuation, honestly. Like, there's not even Weird or Bogle in this movie. Like, they're not even referenced. Like, it feels a bit more like a typical direct-to-video Scooby-Doo animated movie with heavy references to this one 80s Scooby-Doo show for some reason, which is a little disappointing, admittedly. I do have to say that there is a lot more exploration of the lore of 13 Ghosts, if you can call it that. There's a recap of the original show during the credits, and there's more of a backstory to Vincent Price here that wasn't really present in the original show. You didn't quite know a whole lot about him besides him being a powerful warlock. I do like the fact that you get to finally see the 13th ghost after all these years, who was named Asmodeus. He's basically this satanic gargoyle, and there's a surprising connection between the 13th Ghost and Vincent Van Gogh that's very personal and pretty interesting.
I'm having wizard's block.
Give me that chest!
You have to try, Vincent.
Despite this movie having a lot of potential as a globe-trotting caper like the original show, the movie mostly takes place in the Himalayas, which is kind of disappointing for me. I never really liked the Scooby-Doo stories that took place in snowy areas. It's just kind of hard to make a snowy area look all that spooky. Just fucking white everywhere. It's not that scary. It just doesn't lend itself to spookiness, unfortunately. I'm not gonna spoil too much, but the ending was also really, really disappointing after all these years waiting for a conclusion to this show. The last act feels really fucking rushed. All the shit that's revealed at the end is just a total mess. And it feels like the ending totally disregards the original show's concept and just fucking tells it to fuck off with a hand wave. Like, it's just a little disappointing after all these years to see it end in such an anticlimactic way, honestly. A lot of the voices you're familiar with are here. Greg Griffin as Daphne is really good, Matthew Lillard is pretty much perfect as Shaggy, and Frank Welker is pretty much always gonna be Fred to me. Like, at this point, he's never stopped being Fred. Of course, his Scooby voice is damn great. Noshir Dalal plays Flim Flam, and he gives it a nice little Indian flavor to it that wasn't really present in the original, and just makes it a bit more fun, I guess. Maurice LaMarche plays Vincent Van Gogh, of course, replacing Vincent Price, who, you know, is dead. And he does a really good impression. It's very cartoony. It's not super accurate to the actual voice of Vincent Price, but it's close enough. It works for a cartoon. But the new voice of Velma really sucks, honestly.
What are you two wearing?
She's been around for a few years now, but I just don't see why they had to replace the old voice for Velma. She was fucking perfect, like the previous voice, I mean. Like, this current voice is just, too generically nerdy. Like, it just doesn't have that signature Velma flavor that's really important. It really just, stood out. It just felt out of place to me, the new Velma voice. Now, this is an animated movie, of course, and animation overall is pretty much solid, especially for a direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movie. Yeah, they kind of got it down at this point, like, they got it down to a science. There is some janky animation here and there, but yeah, it is a direct-to-video Scooby-Doo movie, so it's not gonna be perfect animation. Not perfect like this animation. Overall, Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost is definitely worth watching, just for hardcore fans, though. It's a fine flick, but it's a bit of a disappointing ending to 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo after all these years. But at least it's finally done. Newcomers and kids, though, might be totally lost watching it without watching the original show. So if for some reason you want to introduce your kids to 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, I guess you have a reason now. Anyway, though, I give Scooby-Doo and the Curse of the 13th Ghost a chest of demons out of Vincent Price. Alright, that was the first ever secret show, my exclusive show on Patreon. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'd like to thank you again for supporting me here on Patreon. Thank you so fucking much. I really, really appreciate it. Now, I want to make this show a bit more personal and a bit more interactive, so if you have any requests for maybe some non-horror stuff or just whatever you'd like to see covered on this secret show, let me know in the comments on Patreon. I'll also answer all of your questions on Patreon too, so just comment below this video on Patreon and just let me know what you'd like to see in the future and any comments you have on your mind, and I will answer them here. Alright, see you later. Hopefully you enjoyed it.